Many women who experience domestic violence will, if lucky, escape to begin a new, safer life. For others, including these women in Australian Hindu and Sikh communities, their suffering has ended only with death. These are their stories. Warning: the following cases contain graphic detail which readers may find disturbing. Beaten to death with a heavy stick. Smothered and suffocated in the family home. Raped, cut and set alight. Mauled with a meat cleaver. An ongoing ABC News investigation into religion and domestic violence has revealed growing concerns about a recent, significant increase in family violence in Australian Hindu and Sikh communities, a crisis which has become public in a spate of horrific deaths. In at least 8 cases in the past 8 years, family violence in these communities has led to homicide and homicide-suicide. One woman took her own life, prompting the question as to whether some deaths should be considered not simple suicides, but the consequence of abuse. There are 3 additional cases from within Sikh communities currently before the courts which, for legal reasons, ABC News is unable to report. Advocates have attributed the violence to myriad factors, including Australia's failure to outlaw the dowry system. But activists who deal regularly with victims and perpetrators say the fundamental problem fueling the abuse in these communities is a deeply patriarchal traditional culture that, at its extreme edges, sees female fetuses aborted, brides burned, and abused women tormented for bringing shame on their families. Some of these practices have now come to Australia following a wave of migration over the past decade, resulting in the brutal killing of women. All of the women below suffered violence at the hands of their intimate partner before either being killed or taking their own life. These are their stories. Victoria, May 9, 2009. Indian man Sukhmader Singh beat his wife Mahida Kaur to death with a heavy stick while they were out walking in the Melbourne suburb of Idri. She died of multiple skull and facial fractures and brain hemorrhaging. Singh pleaded guilty to murder. During his 2010 trial, the Victorian Supreme Court heard he had brutally abused his wife for over 20 years in Punjab, India, and Kaur had fled to live with her daughter Sarabjit in Australia. The court heard Singh abused alcohol and opium which led to mental impairment, and he would regularly falsely accuse Kaur of having affairs. Sometimes he would use a hammer to hit her and other times he would hit and kick her, Sarabjit said in a victim statement. For cultural reasons that I am unable to comprehend, these beatings were not reported to the police, Justice Terry Forrest said in his judgment. Singh's wife spent several happy months in Melbourne before their daughter let him join her, on the promise he would not drink. He arrived in March 2009 and his family arranged for him to spend 4 days at the Sikh temple in Krijaba to treat his alcohol addiction with prayer, according to the judgment. He did stop drinking, but Singh once more accused his wife of having affairs.